Hello everyone and welcome to another LSE Transfer Room stream. Joining me tonight, we've got Brandon, debut tonight, making his debut like Darwin Nunez on the pitch today for his new Saudi Arabian side. Dan, once again on the stream, and Harmony as well. First, I'm going to start with you then, Brandon. How are you doing today and how are you feeling for your debut?
I'm doing good. I'm pretty excited to finally be able to have the time to get on this. I know I signed up and then kind of had to ghost for a while, but, work is work. Have to take care of it, and the time change. Obviously, you're streaming right in the middle of my work day, so have to find the proper time. So I'm glad to be here.
And how about you, Dan? How you doing, mate?
Doing good. Like Brandon, this would normally be my work day, but I still have the summer off. So, I go back to work in about 2 months. So, I'm just enjoying the summer, enjoying the new players, enjoying seeing one Hendo out, one Lavia in.
Harmony, we was enjoying the summer, weren't we, for an hour early, but now it's pouring down rain. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It cancelled my barbecue today, but, it is what it is. But you just can't get on with it, you know what I mean?
Just like Jurgen Klopp, you got to work with what you got, haven't you, mate? You got to work
exactly.
with get your umbrella up and have a rainy barbecue.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That is actually not a bad idea.
So tonight's topics then, guys, with a lot of more progress in the Henderson situation, Fabinho situation. A certain Romeo Lavia is getting closer to being agreed with Liverpool and Southampton. And another name coming up again is Franck Kessie, another one coming through. It was linked with us last year, but nothing's been said since he's joined Barcelona. But Barcelona may be happy to let him go. But let's just get on with the stream then, guys. We'll start with Franck Kessie. We'll start with something quite easy. And maybe it might take 5 minutes to talk about Franck Kessie because I don't think it's that much of a story, to be honest. Brandon, start with you then with Franck Kessie, Barcelona. Liverpool have been quiet about him according to Mundo Deportivo. Is he a player that we should be going back for, which we did last season?
I don't think so. I like Kessie when he was at AC Milan. I thought I really wanted him. Then I don't know, just one of those things. I guess it's like sight unseen. When you don't see him or not hearing much about him, you kind of forget. Like, oh yeah, I thought I did kind of want him at some point. I don't think we really want him as much anymore. I think it's more Barcelona likes to use this as a way to get other people interested in players or try to get people to re-sign contracts or something like that. Say, oh, and Liverpool's interested, or agents do the same thing, where they like to use this as like a make weight to either get a player off their books or get a player to re-sign a new contract. So I don't think there's much in us trying to go back for Frank.
How many do you agree with him? Do you think we should just leave it anyway and maybe look at someone else?
Yeah, 100%. And I do agree with what he said. He just said I think Barcelona, they know that Liverpool need midfielders. So if they can just put a name in there, it kind of might make a team panic and be like, oh my God, Liverpool needs midfielders. They might go in again. We have to, try and get involved in this deal when really and truly Liverpool not even looking at the guy. So that's probably just another ploy to kind of, to entice other teams to have a look at their player that they need to get off the books because obviously they're in financial trouble right now. So, yeah.
I mean, Dan, just as Harvey just said, Barcelona looking to get rid of him just to get some money in. Should we be taking Barcelona cast-offs?
No, that's what Stoke City did, and I don't think it worked out pretty well for them because I think we're still in the Championship. All those years ago, they had more World Cup and Championship winners than the Premier League a couple of years ago. No, I don't think so. I mean, I like Franck Kessie as a player, but I don't think we need him because what Franck Kessie brings to your team is what we're already trying to bring in with like Dominic Szoboszlai, and he's not really a defensive midfielder. And the only reason he's linked to Liverpool is that it's just that time of year where you can just type in a midfielder, say it to Liverpool, make it a link, and then it's probably going to be traffic because probably someone in Liverpool probably did look at Franck Kessie 2-3 years ago. But no, I don't think they're looking at him. I don't think we should be looking at him. And, Barcelona right now in a situation where I was bringing up their list of players. Yeah, they need to get rid of players because they can't register these players because of FFP. So, yeah, this is just a situation where Barcelona need to sell a player to register their new players like Romeo, Gundogan, Gonzalez, Dest, Longley, all these players that were all on loan. And, yeah, I don't see any traction in this at all.
From one player that we're being offered to a player that we're offering out, Harmony. Fabinho, it looked like it was going to be off at one point. His dogs were messing it up all up, and certain situation in Saudi Arabia where they don't accept certain breed of dog, and
Yeah.
it's all coming out now that it's back on, and Paul Joyce has said it today as well that it's back on. So when Paul Joyce says it, it's usually true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you happy seeing Fabinho out the door? Do you think we're just leaving it? I think we're getting rid of him too early.
The only reason I'll say the reason why I'm happy because we need the money. That's the only reason why I would actually just accept the fact that he's actually leaving. Because if we didn't need the money, then I would have said keep him for one more season, only because of the experience that he has, and I believe he still has a lot to offer the team. His experience is such a massive thing, especially in that midfield. And if we brought a person like Lavia in, I think it would have been such a great benefit for him to learn from somebody that is so good, that's been there, that's done that, that's been considered probably one of the best CDM in the world when he was at his peak. So yeah, but now that is completely that we know that he's gonna go, I just think it's just time that we need to replace him with another experienced body. Yes, Lavia is going to be a great addition, providing if Southampton accepts the offer that we're going to be sending out soon. I still believe we need to bring on another experienced midfielder in there to kind of replace that Fabinho, that whole Fabinho is going to be leaving, because Lavia is not going to be that guy because he ain't got that experience just yet, because he's basically like Besetic. He ain't got that much. He got an experience, yes, a year experience, but with a team with not that much pressure, they got relegated. So you're coming to a big Liverpool side that's going to be trying to challenge and trying to prove a point again that last season was a fluke. So there's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid. So yeah.
And Armin is absolutely spot on regarding the pressure on the young kids. From a step up, like say Lavia from Southampton to Liverpool, it's a huge change. And when we're relying on him and maybe Besetic at best to play that CDM role and such an important role in Liverpool, that's it could be too much for players that young, and that's so much pressure. It's such a high. It's a bigger ceiling, isn't it, up in Liverpool? And you're going to be playing European football, probably Champions League in 2 seasons' time, and we're going to speak about that towards the end of the stream regarding is it enough to bring just Lavia in, or do it like Harmony said, bring someone a bit more experienced in as well? Dan, I'm going to come to you next. Regarding the Fabinho thing, then, do you think he should have stayed and then Lavia maybe learn off him, or do you think we're doing the right thing by getting rid of him?
Well, I think that was the plan. If we go back all the way back to June, if we're going back to June 1st, start of the summer, well, not the start of the summer window, but kind of going into that summer, McAllister's done. They were looking at a bunch of different players at the time. Kone and Turan were the 2 big ones linked. Eventually, they go to the U21s tournament. We get Szoboszlai. And then I think it was like 2 weeks after Szoboszlai was signed, we get those massive drops like on a Wednesday or Tuesday that, Al Ittihad and Al Ettifaq are in for Fabinho and Henderson. And I think the plan was that we keep Fabinho and that, we have a Lavia learn under him for a year in many ways, and then we look to sell Fabinho on next year. The way it's transpired, it seems to me very much that Fabinho was contacted very early on, and he let Liverpool know, and then Liverpool in a situation now where they're like, well, Fabinho wants to go. He doesn't want to stay for another year. And, consider the fact that, Fabinho has had 4 or 5 years of being like, one of the best defensive mids in the whole world, and he's ran his legs off pretty much. Just is he up for that challenge again? And I think it's the same thing with Henderson. Are you up for going again one more time into the brink to try and win a Premier League, to try and challenge for Champions League, to try and win a Europa League or any other competition? And I think Fabinho is just like the situation. It's like, I don't think I have the legs anymore. And the thing is, as an athlete, as a professional athlete player, when your mindset goes, I don't think I can do this anymore, it's very hard to get yourself back up to that level. The instant you start doubting, can I do this job for this team? You're kind of already like telling Klopp and everyone else that I don't want to be here anymore. I don't think I can provide anything. And I think that's why now we're in a situation where he is probably going to be sold to Al Ittihad, and we probably are going to have to. I think the plan was to get Palhinha. That no, Fabinho was going to go. They were going to bring Palhinha from Fulham, but now that he's injured, they're going to have to decide: do we just start Lavia and we just see how that works for the first? I think what is it that has been said? 26 games until December. do we just throw him in for those 26 games to see how it works, or do we go inside someone who is more established? Maybe not someone who's 27, 28, 29, but someone maybe 25, 26, 24 age that could come in and just do a job for a couple months. And I think right now that they're kind of stuck in a situation where if Lavia gets over the line, they're going to have to reassess what their next step is, because they still need a defender as well.
Brandon, how much of a surprise do you think this is taking the club with Fabinho and Hendo going out?
I think definitely the Fabinho stuff is not what the club would want. Like, I think, as everybody else is kind of saying, they want Lavia to kind of learn underneath him. But at the same time, to get basically your money back on him at his age, and also kind of how his legs did seem to kind of be going last year, though we did have like a better second half of the year. It's one of those, like, you have to kind of make that deal. You have to take that deal. As much as you want Lavia to turn into the next great player, like, it's use that money, because obviously, we all kind of know what FSG likes to do with their money. They really don't want to spend it unless they absolutely have to. It makes it a lot easier to go get a center back or go get, another player that we need. I do agree with Dan about the whole Palhinha thing, though. It's a shoulder injury, if I'm thinking correctly, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there a timetable on his return or anything like that?
I think they said they came out with, like, I think it was like he probably wouldn't play till October, November, on the treatment table. So I think that's why they're probably looking somewhere else right now.
Yeah, I think I've kind of been the thing is like they're in scramble mode right now of like, what do we do to kind of make sure, because I don't think they want to throw in a 19-year-old for 26 games and then just hope he makes it out good, because that can destroy the youngster if he goes out there and performs like. Remember, Dejan Lovren, his first season was just garbage for the whole season, and it took him a couple years to kind of even get back to kind of the player he was at Southampton. And even then, it was still up and down. So I don't think they really want to just let's see how the 19-year-old does for 26 games. So it's a lot of stuff got to go on. I'm not 100% sure exactly where they're going to go. Palhinha is not on the table anymore.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're in this situation is because of, like FSG have not wanted to spend over the last few years. So we've been neglecting the midfield for long enough, and then for some reason, just when we need a midfield rebuild, Fabinho and Henderson decided to leave and got Henderson just didn't want to be second fiddle. Fabinho maybe has just realised his legs have gone. But for me, regarding the Fabinho thing, he showed towards the end of last season that he still had a bit of something.
Yeah.
And it changed when obviously we changed the tactics with Trent going to inverted right back. So Fabinho was allowed to sit, and he didn't have to be relied on then to cover Trent. That was on Konate, which helped Fabinho a lot, because I think it allowed him to be the Fabinho as well, to be the one that was reading the game, making those interceptions, getting those tackles, and he can be a bit a bit aggressive at times and a bit. I won't say silly with the tackles, but a little bit out of place with tackles sometimes. He does get a yellow card every now and then. But on his day, Fabinho is one of the best in the world and was the best in the world in his prime. It's just a shame that I think he's leaving a bit early for me. I think, like the guy said, that if it was someone like Lavia coming in to learn underneath, Fabinho would have been perfect. Fabinho obviously wouldn't need to play every single game anyway to keep his legs. He played certain games, Lavia had to play certain games, and Bajcetic as well. Going on from Fabinho to another player that's leaving to Saudi Arabia, and he's actually said his goodbye message. And before that, actually, it was pictured training with his new team before even anything official came out. So he was on that playing quicker than I think he made his video yesterday at Anfield, and then he went straight on to play at John Lennon Airport. So I'm just going to read you out what he said in his goodbye message. To me, it seems a bit like he wrote it, but obviously you're going to get help sometimes if you're not, if you're not used to writing things like this. It's hard to put these last 12 years into words, and it's harder to see him say goodbye. I will always be a Red until the day I die. That rhymed, actually, which is funny enough, and that's why I think it's a writer. Thank you. You'll never walk alone. Henderson put that on his Instagram, his socials, and yeah. Dan, do you agree with me? Do you think he's written that?
I don't know if he's written it by hand. He's probably definitely had someone on his PR team or his agent workshopped it, but he probably did say I just want to say thank you and everything else. Anytime you leave a job, you always have to write a little, like you add a little bit in there, then you ask someone, it's like, okay, how do I make this sound like, as pretty as possible as well?
Your inner William Shakespeare comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, listen, your inner Shakespeare comes out when you're leaving your job for greener pastures. Yeah, no, I don't think he wrote like 95% of it. He probably wrote like maybe like a line or two as well. But I mean, so I mean, I think at the heart of this, it's like how genuine, how what is the what's the word I'm looking for? Authenticity of Henderson's leaving for this Liverpool team because of the way this transfer has just occurred for the past 2 weeks, and it's just been like so difficult. So I mean, not so difficult, but just such a shock to everyone, I think, as well, because like the way Henderson has been as a captain and as a player, he's always been very passionate, very works hard for the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all things we use to describe him. And then the way this transfer just happened is like very out of the blue. It kind of contrasts with Fabinho, where Fabinho was kind of like very upfront about like this as well. The way Henderson has, left. He came back. Klopp told him this is what your role is going to be. He said, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go explore my options. And Klopp said, sure, okay. And I just felt like, and I think the fact he went to the training camp too, and the fact that he left the training camp to go to Croatia, and the fact that he's now doing this video on Instagram and it's written by somebody else, it kind of has that sense of like artificiality, like he's leaving kind of like under a cloud of like slight discontent, of slight umbrage, that people have slight umbrage with him right now as well, which is understandable. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of sad. We don't like to see Liverpool captains leave, no matter who they are, and it's just it's going to be interesting to see what this Liverpool team looks like without Henderson in it, and also Fabinho that we just talked about, because he played such a big role in us winning our first Premier League title, but also winning that the European Cup in 18-19, but also pushing for the quadruple last year.
Uh-huh.
To everyone that's in the chat, 69, 70 people in the chat at the moment, if you do like what you see and hear, unlike John Henson when he got told by Jurgen Klopp he's going to be second fiddle, please make sure you like and subscribe and get your notification bells turned on. We are live every single night, podcast every Friday, and more videos out during the day as well, as much as we can. The more likes, the more subscribers we get, the more work we put out, the better content we put out as well. Continue what I said then, Brandon, because we spoke about this before we came on stream about his goodbye message. And I said to you, it sort of flowed like a writer had written it. Only then saying it out loud, I knew that it rhymed. So, is there any sincerity in how Henderson's gone about this? I mean, he's going to go down as Liverpool legend. Let's be honest here. Yeah. He's done everything for the club. He's worked his ass off as much as he can. He's got the best out of his ability, by the way.
Yeah.
His ceiling wasn't Gerrard's ceiling, was it? But he's hit the ceiling at Liverpool, and all we can do is be thankful for what he's done and be the captain, being the captain and the Hendo shuffle. But do you think it's a bit of a sour way to end it, and especially like a goodbye message like that? Would he, even if it's like not illiterate or anything like that, we just need more sincerity, don't we?
Yeah, like the fact it was, I mean, I became a Liverpool fan right as Roy Hodgson took over, which I didn't know enough about European soccer to know how devastating that actually was during the time. So like really my first transfer window, one of the first signings was Jordan Henderson. So he's like the connection to the original Liverpool team for me. So to kind of, how many lines was that? 3 or 4? Like, how many lines?
It was like a little poem, yeah.
Yeah, like a little poem, something like the fact that he was such an integral part, not just to the team, but also like mine. Like, I guess I'm being selfish here saying he owes me more in a goodbye message, but it's like, to see it be so almost like it was written by AI. Like he just typed in, this is what I want it to sound like, and he just sent it to ChatGPT and they wrote it for him, and then he just posted it out there and was, deuces, I'm on the plane. Yeah, like it is very disappointing how it's all kind of came about. Like obviously there's all the kind of, how he was like a captain for, obviously the pride stuff and all that. Now he's moving to Saudi Arabia. There's all that political stuff underneath all this too. That's super disappointing, at least to me. I don't want to speak for everybody. But yeah, the whole thing is just kind of left a weird sour taste in my mouth that you have to kind of separate him as a professional from how this is all happening. But you can't really talk one without the other now. And it's just kind of left this weird taste. It's going to take probably a couple years for it to kind of ease up and kind of for everybody to kind of reassess Jordan Henderson at Liverpool, which I agree if he's not a legend, he's like the slight step below that. Like, it's like one half step. Yeah, he's not Gerrard, but I mean, how many players in our history are? So.
Well, it's hard to. I mean, taking over Gerrard anyway as captain, a lot of pressure on him alone. At first, it was like, why are we giving him? Why, he wasn't playing up to expectation. He wasn't playing at a good standard. But when Jurgen Klopp came on, he gave him a second lease of life, and he's been something else. He's been something else, especially in those 1920, 18, 19, 2021 sort of seasons. Him just on the pitch alone, you could even when it was in lockdown, you could hear the players talking. You could hear him shouting the way where he orchestrated his team, like to Trent and things like that. You see what kind of difference he actually made with his voice alone, and mind what he could do on the pitch anyway.
Yeah, and then
as our lovely Jen said, there, Hender's gone. Let's move on now. Then, Harmony. Romeo Lavia.
Yeah,
we did bid earlier on yesterday. I think it was. We made a first bid.
Yep.
Rejected. They want £50 million to Southampton, but we might be going back in again with a 42.5 million bid with 2.5 million add-ons to Conte Vimano.
Yep.
Sacha Tavolieri as well also said that we're closing in on a deal for £45 million. Is it going to happen in the next couple of days? Are we going to get him before Singapore?
No, because we're going to Singapore tomorrow. Right, yeah, tomorrow we're going to Singapore. The team are flying out. So if it's going to happen, he'll have to fly out to Singapore to join the team. But it needs to happen this week. That's the most essential thing, because what we are as fans, we're not. A lot of fans might not understand is that it's all fun and good signing players, but if that player doesn't get a proper pre-season with the team, doesn't get adjusted with his new environment, get to know the players, get to know the manager, and the manager to understand what kind of player he has. Yes, he's seen him play. Yes, he's probably seen clips. They probably analyzed him. But that's all well and good. But you have sometimes better to see the person in person to see what character do you have, because you can see a guy, you can watch him, and he can be the best player you've ever seen. But you get him face to face, and you're challenging him every single day, and you see this guy keep continuously backing off, and he's not performing the way you expected him to, because what you saw and what you're seeing right now is two different things. So that is something that is really, really important, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize. And the point I'm trying to make is that we need to get it done this week, so Klopp can really analyze. Okay, this is the guy I have. What can I do? How can this guy fit in the system? How is he going to be next to Trent when Trent becomes inverted? How is he going to fit in when we are defending? How is he going to fit in when we are attacking? All of these things are important, especially for this season, because as Klopp said in his when he was doing the podcast, and he said he feels responsible. The players feel responsible. The staff feels responsible. They want to prove that last season was a fluke and it's not going to happen again. And the only way for him to do that is for him to have these players early, to train with them, to get them adjusted to the system, to get them embedded in the team, for them to understand what are the standards and what is it that is expected of you. And if you don't get that earlier on, then it's a problem, because that means Klopp has to work with him probably once, twice, because when games are coming thick and fast, you're not going to have time to really train. You're not going to have time to really sit down and explain to the guy, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what I need you to be, this is what's going to happen. And also another thing that's important is the fact that the players need to adjust with him, so they know, okay, how does he play? How does he move? So if I'm playing here, where would he be? If I'm in trouble, where can I find him? Where would he be? And for him to have that same understanding as well. So that is what's really important. Yes, we want to get the transfer done, but it has to be this week, so Klopp can get at least a bit of time with him to adjust him, and for him to understand, okay, what is my role and what am I expected to do for this team? So, yeah.
People forget as well that when we're playing against this City side, that a good start is such an important thing to do, because once you're playing catch-up against City, it's near an impossible job sometimes. I mean, City did the catch-up in last year, and they did it against us a couple of times. But when we're behind and they're ruthless, you can't be affording to drop points early on. Exactly. You need a good start and start start getting it into a bit of rhythm as soon as you can.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off. I just want to add this. I think it's important to get a good start as well, because if you see the way City's moving right now, they haven't really signed anybody. Players might be leaving, so they could have a really, really slow start to the season. So if us as Liverpool have our things organized and we get a very good start, by come Christmas, we could be 11 points ahead of them. And that can give us so much more comfort going into the next part of the season. So that's another reason why I feel like this is really important.
And the thing is, as well, I mean, is our fixtures as well, the starting fixtures. I think we've got like City, Newcastle, and Chelsea in the first 6 fixtures, which compared to City have got an easy start. Which so them not bringing people in might not affect them too much because they're going to walk over some teams anyway. But we, like you said about Lavia, if we get him in tomorrow or this week, you know, it gives Klopp then a little bit of time to embed it in before Chelsea, because if Lavia is going to be the starting 6 against Chelsea, he needs to play a few games to get used to his teammates.
Exactly.
We're going into Chelsea now with possibly a new free midfield. Dan, is the Lavia the one to be playing against Chelsea at number 6?
It just depends, because we have had so much turnover. It just depends on how they want to set up against Chelsea. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we play Chelsea and you see a situation where it's, you know, Salah, Gakpo, Jota, or Salah, Gakpo, Diaz, and really Gakpo plays as a midfielder, and then you have a midfield of McAllister, Thiago, and, you know, Curtis, or Szoboszlai, just depending on injuries right now, or even Harvey Elliott coming back in. Because, I mean, what we need our midfield to look like at Chelsea on opening day is not what we need, you know, Bournemouth at home, or, you know, what we're going to need in October and November. So there is kind of, even though I think we should get Lavia in as soon as possible, and I agree with Harmony that, you know, the sooner he gets in, the more they can work with him, the more he can adapt, get up to speed to the way we want him to play in the 6 role or in the double pivot role if we're playing the 3-box-3. I also think it's a situation where we go into Chelsea first game of the season, and it's just going to be completely different from what we're going to see from like Bournemouth or like any other game, because Chelsea away as your first game is just such a weird one-off game to play at. You know, if you think about Chelsea, even though right now they're still like a team that is slightly chaotic, that Pochettino is trying to figure out. You know, there are still players that are trying to leave or they're trying to get rid of. You know, we haven't talked about Levi Colwill, but, you know, he had his talk with Pochettino. We haven't really had more come out of that, but we do know that there is interest there as well. So if Lavia comes in and they decide to play him at Chelsea away, they could do that. It could be a situation like when we brought in Robertson and Keita or actually Keita in 18-19, and then we just don't play him for a couple of weeks. We pick and choose their games. It could be a situation where you just see a completely mad team that first game of the year, where essentially Liverpool, Klopp saying, you know, I'm okay with a 0-0 draw here because it's Chelsea away. Who cares? This is not where we're going to win the league. We're not going to win the league at Chelsea away on the opening day. It's going to be playing your Bournemouth at home, your Brightons away, your Palaces away, your Palaces at home. So, you know, I agree with Harmony. The faster they get it done, the better, just because I think it will just make us all less anxious, but also I think we'll have a better idea of what to expect. But also, even if he gets done, you know, actually, I think right now it's actually nighttime in the UK right now and in Europe. But if he gets done tomorrow, you know, he's not going to play at Leicester, but he might play at Munich, be on the bench for Munich. And the faster we get them all in, the easier it is that we just have a clear idea. Okay, this is what we're going to expect the players that we have. So we feel confident going in. Because I feel confident regardless of what team we put out, you know, based on the players we have. You know, we're going to score goals. We might concede a lot of goals, but, you know, we're definitely going to score a lot of goals, you know, even going away at Chelsea on the first day.
I said it in chat the other day. It feels like that 13-14 season where DS up front and Sterling and Coutinho and Gerrard, where we score goals for fun. We just seem to be like conceding it for fun as well. So like 5-3, unless we get that proper midfield just sewn up. Then we saw the other day in the friendlies. I know it's only friendlies, but the way they cut through our midfield was just too easy for me.
Yeah.
And it might be on the friendlies, but this is it's a little insight to what could happen when it comes to Chelsea, when it comes to Man City, when it comes to Newcastle coming up in the first 6 fixtures. And if we don't get this transfer window right, we could be playing catch up. Not just now, I'm talking next season and season after in transfers. Vase of Flowers, is anything brand new today? Did I miss anything juicy? Well, depending if you're regarding a well written out goodbye message by John Henderson's agent as juicy, he is officially gone now. He's been spotted in training today with his new side. Fabinho is back on to Saudi Arabia to Al Ittihad, and that was coming from Paul Joyce, so that is pretty much on. His dogs are not stopping him anymore. I'm guessing he's either leaving him here with a neighbour or Saudis have given up on it, and maybe the Saudis may have spent like 5 minutes with them and realised they're actually not that aggressive. So there must be something over there. There must have come some sort of agreement.
Yeah.
Again, the other new one then is about Franck Kessie, really. Liverpool have inquired about him apparently, and Barcelona may want to sell him just because they're trying to get rid of players. Other than that, the major news is Romeo Lavia. We bid for him yesterday, not enough. Southampton want £50 million, but according to even Paul Joyce says today that we're possibly getting like a 44 million plus 4 million add-ons. 34 million plus 4 million add-ons with the first bid, he said, but we're set to make a second offer. And according to Romano, it's going to be 42.5 million plus 2.5 million add-ons, which adds up obviously to 45 million. Brandon, are Southampton going to accept that? Because I've already said twice now. I said twice, a few times now. They've said they don't 50 million. 45 million, is it enough to sway Southampton?
I'd say so. If not, it's going to just take a little bit more than that. I don't know if we get straight to the 50, but I think 45 would make him go for it. Just where they are, they're going to need money. Obviously, not your primarily parachutes, but I think they'll need the money. I think it's obvious Lavia wants to come. I don't think they're going to hold him hostage. Take advantage of the Southampton pipeline while it's still hot. I think 45 is going to get the deal done. And like they said, hopefully it's done this week. The longer it goes out, then the less sure I'm going to be about the 45 million or somebody else coming in and hijacking for more than the 50.
Before we go into the last half an hour of the stream, where we are going to talk about the midfield as a whole and give our opinions on it going into the season, please, if you are new, please make sure you subscribe. If you are in the chat, please make sure you leave a like. It doesn't take long to leave a like. A quick tick of the thumbs up, and it only goes back into you guys. We want to give you the best content and the most content we can for Liverpool content, and there's quite a lot of Liverpool pods out there, but I'm trying to say we want to be the best without being like shitting on any other pod or anything like that, but we do want to be the best and be the best for you guys. At the end of the day, we want to give you the best content to listen to. It's you guys listening to it. I like listening to podcasts sometimes myself, so I know what people like and how it helps people when if they're going through work, if they're going through things at home and things like that. I know how good podcasts are personally from my end. Before we do go to Harmony next, then I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a list then of the midfielders that we do have. I'm going to include Romeo Lavia in this list, by the way.
Okay.
Going into the season. Say we've got Romeo Lavia.
Yep.
Romeo Lavia. Stefan Bajcetic, a young lad. Romeo Lavia, young lad. Thiago Alcantara, injury prone. Curtis Jones. We don't know what Curtis Jones is going to turn up. Hopefully it's the informed one that we showed last season and the Euro 2021 one.
Yep.
Harvey Elliott may not even be a midfielder. I've lost. So we've got now Harvey Elliott, Lavia, Bajcetic.
Yep.
We've got
new guys.
No. Have you got new boys?
I've got 7. I'm trying to think of what I've missed.
You missed the new guys.
The new guys.
Oh yes, there you go.
Yeah.
I knew it. Alexis McAllister. So we've got 7 altogether. 2 new guys, 2 young lads, an injury prone. Curtis Jones, who's unknown, and Harvey Elliott, I don't think is a midfielder. Is that enough?
Oh, God. As soon as you said it, that's when a penny just dropped to my head that we're actually in trouble in terms of midfield. There's such a lack of experience in that midfield is unbelievable, honestly. Because what it is, I'm just looking at it like this. If we had our core in terms of Henderson, and Fabinho, I'm not trying to say to you guys that these guys are great players, right? Henderson, no. I can't sit here and say he's a great player because obviously he's dropped off. Fabinho, we don't know because he could have got back into form this season. So he's kind of an anomaly. We don't know yet with that one. If we kept those guys, I'll be more confident because we have experienced it. We have guys that have been there, that have really done it, that, you know, that can help these new midfielders embed into the team. And if you want to start the season with a McAllister, a Henderson, and a Fabinho, because Szoboszlai is not ready yet, you're fine because you have that experience of Henderson there. And, you know, McAllister, he's fine because he's been in the Premier League, so he knows, he has that physicality. He's used to the pace and everything. So that is when I'll be comfortable. But just looking at that team, it's such a young team. Yes, future-wise, we are sorted. We ain't got to worry about the future because we are sorted. We got some young, great players that we can grow into our team and we can save ourselves a bunch of money. Instead of going to the market, we really got these players. But right now, I still believe that we need one more player to kind of just make that midfield a little bit more stronger, because if one injury, especially the whole Thiago situation, if he gets injured, we're literally left with youngsters in our midfield. That's what we're left with. And no one in the chat or anybody can tell me that they'll be comfortable enough to have all these young players in the midfield and no one that has experience, that's been there, to be in there to kind of help them and marshal them. You want to be comfortable because there's going to be so many problems in that midfield. So that's why I feel like we need one more, at least someone that's like 27, 28 to come into that midfield to just give us a little bit more of a boost. Even if there is an injury, we're still sorted. So that's how I'm looking at it, just looking at that midfield.
I was going to bring up this comment, Brandon. Vanessa says, I'm so afraid Lavia is going to be our last signing, as 3 players cost FSG 140 million now. Well, if we sell Fabinho and Henderson, that's at least 50 million back there. So that's 90 million. And obviously the Szoboszlai one may have been a loan. So don't really spend much anyway. Brandon, are you afraid that Lavia is going to be our last signing?
A little bit. I'd say it's 50-50. He's our last signing. I don't want it to be. I think 2 signings would be Lavia and at least one more midfielder, and I really think we need another center back. Like if we hadn't got like 2 weeks ago, if we hadn't got Lavia but still got a center back, I'd have been fine with everything. But now losing those 2 and only getting Lavia in, like it's not going to work. The numbers don't work. I think for a Klopp system to really work, 9-10 midfielders is what's needed. Like we can't run with 7. Like it just, with how much toll it's taken physically on these players, there's no way we can run 7, especially with one like Thiago, who's, it's not if, it's when he's going to get hurt, or at least miss time. Even Curtis, he played great down the stretch last year, but I mean, he's had injury issues off and on the past couple of seasons as well. It's just, and also didn't, the Sobo immediately take to the Premier League. We don't know that 100% yet. So, I mean, we got to get somebody at least Premier League experience or older, like more experience, just like more professional. We just need another voice in that room, a little bit older and more experience. We've got to get over the line. It has to. Like, if we want to compete this year, we have to get at least one more midfielder, if not 2.
Red Tabby there said Klopp played Weigl as first choice CDM at 18 at Dortmund. There's a massive difference between no disrespect to Dortmund at all, but there's a massive difference between Dortmund and Liverpool.
Yeah,
especially in terms of leagues alone.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
CDM in the Bundesliga, we've seen like Musiala and Jude Bellingham absolutely rip it up, and it's allowed him to be that. I'm not saying Bellingham can do it over here, but youngsters over there they've got more freedom to rip it up a little bit more because just the standard isn't as good enough. In the Premier League, you're talking against even like Luton Town coming up. That's going to be a tough fixture away from home. That's what we're talking about. Premier League is a different standard to that, and playing for Liverpool is also a different standard as well, because Liverpool have expectations of, the fans we're very, very, I won't say fickle, but we can get on a player if they play poor for a certain amount of time. Youngsters, maybe not so, but certain players we can, but rightfully so, because our expectations are on the ceiling. And that's where Liverpool's expectations should be. So to play a 19-year-old, and I've said it before, that if we put Lavia in now as number 1 choice every single week, and we ruin him, we're ruining it for the next 5 years for us. Not just this season. This guy's our future, like we're saying. I won't say like a 28-year-old, 29-year-old, but like someone said earlier, I think it was Brandon said it. We need maybe like 25-year-old, 23-year-old, someone just a little bit more experience.
Yeah,
We don't need another youngster with him. Someone like even like a Kone or Thuram, it's still like they are young, but they've had that little bit more experience and they're a bit more established as players. Whilst Lavia, I think to me, Imar Bajcetic, it's just too much pressure on such a young shoulder. In that, when you put a red shirt on, the pressure from he's had at Southampton is
Liverpool,
tenfold, absolute tenfold, and we know what the Anfield crowd's like. We will get behind that every single player that's on that pitch, but we know that if it starts going wrong, especially when we've only got 3 years of Klopp left, we know this is it. Bealey, this is it. This is the final curtain call with him. And we want to win what we need to win. We need to be in title races this season. We need to be in a Europa League race this season. We need to be winning cups this season, not next season, not the season after. Obviously, that will add afterwards, but we need to be looking at this season first.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm hoping this is right. I'm hoping we do become doubters again. I don't know. Jurgen Klopp has been underdogs. Let's be honest. A lot's been underdogs. I think it thrives off just relying on youngsters at the moment to get us over the line. But the odds are it's not going to get us over the line, and that's the problem. We can't be relying on doubters to believers. We can't be relying on hope. We've had the hope part of our Jurgen Klopp era. That was when he came in. That was the hope. Now he's got us to the top. We've got to stay there. We're Liverpool Football Club. We shouldn't be going back up and down, up and down, up and down. Liverpool Football Club should be going to the top and staying at the top.
Man.
Brandon, Dan, when saying that, then having just said all that and the midfield that I went through as well, do you think it's enough, or do you think we need at least one midfielder, maybe even two?
I think he wants 8. And with Lavia we have 8. I think Klopp wants to have 8. I think we should get 2. So I think we should get and I know someone I mentioned this earlier, the Palhinha that had fallen apart, but they should be looking at doing a Decore as well. Someone that can be like 23, 24, 25. They can come in and start and be good for 4 years. But I think that's also something that Klopp would say, that doesn't make sense. We have Bajcetic and Lavia, we want to play them. We have all these players who want to play as well. And if you bring in Decore, he's just going to sit here and he's just going to start ASAP and he's just going to play nonstop. I think that what Vanessa mentioned earlier with the worry about that as well. I get that worry because I think that's a very strong possibility that Lavia gets signed and then no other player gets signed. And it's not because they don't try to sign anybody. It's that there's that one of the players they want that they're not going to be able to get. And it's going to be a situation like last year with Jude Bellingham and the one before then as well. Now, I don't know if that's actually what will happen. I think there is a reasonable anxiety and fear around that. But if they get Lavia, then they should look to sign another one and try to get a center back as well. And if it's not going to be Levi Colwill, you have so much flexibility to go out and buy
Ignacio.
Ignacio at Sporting. That may be too much money. They may go get someone who's a Mickey Longlegs, Mickey Van de Ven at Wolfsburg, who hasn't moved yet and who was supposed to be at Tottenham. If you're spending 40 to 45 million though on a midfielder, they're probably going to start. 80% of the games are going to be available for. I agree with your anxiety, Damo, that we don't want to put a youngster in that position because they'll. It's like you don't want your hopes and dreams to be put on the backs of youngsters. Liverpool fans went through that in the 90s. We had that with Sterling during 14-15 with that Rodgers team after that title charge that we fell short on. We don't want to have all of our hopes and dreams put on one very, very young, youthful player. So I do think that they should buy and look to get a second one. And it doesn't have to be someone that is, amazing or top class. It's just someone who's going to come in. I hate to say it, like Kev Stewart, like an old Kev Stewart player, someone who's just going to come in for play 10 games, on cheap wages, doesn't cost a lot of money, play them for a bit, they come out, and then we just play with the rest of the midfielders, and they're just there.
Well, we've got Clark, haven't we? Do you think it could be
Clark?
We do.
Yeah, well, we do have Clark. We have Clark, but I don't know if I feel so comfortable with Clark coming in because again, you probably want someone that's a little bit older who's going to be up to that challenge as well. My biggest worry is that they're going to get into Lavia's going to get done, and they're going to get into Singapore. Like, hopefully, no one gets injured. Everyone's coming back from injuries right now. There's no really big injuries apart by Szoboszlai had like that. Had turned his ankle a bit, so they were just keeping it as a precaution, which is understandable. I've turned my ankle plenty of times. That hurts. That I would not try to run on it. I worry that we're going to get into August, and there's going to be a situation where you want to get a defender, you want to get a midfielder, and there's just nothing out there that's going to meet that criteria. And we're going to get all the way to the end of the transfer window, and we're still going to have these links, and we're just not going to get anybody, which I don't think will happen, but I do understand the worry about that happening. I don't think that is what's going to happen. I think they're going to sign Lavia. They're going to try and sign one more, but it's probably not going to be a midfielder. It's probably going to be a defender. They're going to get Lavia over the line, and they're going to try to go to Chelsea and say, hey, Chelsea, we'll give you $55 million for Levi Colwill. And Chelsea are probably going to say, no dice, come back, and then Liverpool will be stuck in a position where do we get Mickey van de Ven? Do we go for Pavard? Do we go for a player and play this hybrid role? Because that's really the last thing you need to do, is that after Lavia, they need a defender. I do think they should buy another midfielder just because of the anxiety of bringing it, like putting these young players, these new players in this position. But we know Jurgen does not care. He'll say, like, I'll play a 17-year-old Alexander-Arnold at Old Trafford, and when we're going for top four, Jurgen does not care. He will go in. He'll say, I'm just going to go in and do Lavia at midfield. Like I mentioned, I'm joking like how like with the team we could see at Chelsea, we probably won't see for the rest of the season. We could go to Chelsea and it's Nunez, Diaz, Salah, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Lavia, let's say Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, and let's say Colwill or Robertson, and it's just this mad team. And they're just like, all right, guys, we're either gonna lose this game, we're gonna lose this game 6-5, we're gonna win it 4-0. Like that's just roll the dice this game as well.
We're definitely gonna be a team to watch this season, aren't we, for the neutrals?
Oh yeah, no, listen, I'm actually really excited for this season. I'm excited because I could see a situation where Liverpool can win the title and the Europa League and possibly have a cup run because like our forwards look amazing, and like Konate is so good, Trent looks bag. Robertson, even though he's 30, is still good. We still have Tsimikas. Some people don't rate him, but he's still a backup left back. You're not throwing someone in there that's like, just complete garbage. And even though some people don't rate Joe Gomez, I think Joe Gomez is perfectly fine if he's your third and fourth choice center back. Same thing with Joel Matip. Regardless of what system we really play, these are perfectly fine players that you can go out and you can beat, the 10 to 20 in the Premier League. If you have everything else set up, you can go and beat them. And you have Alisson, who's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this year, and has been the best Premier League like ever since it's been as well. So we're not far away from having a title challenge and a Europa League challenge as well, and doing better than what Arsenal did, because Arsenal tried to win it with 15 players and they all ran out of gas by the end of the year. We're actually going to have a pretty good solid 20 to 22, depending on the last two signings, group of players that we can go and really push for all these trophies.
I got a quick question, just to kind of get everyone in the panel. How long do you think that this model of FSG running Liverpool is going to last? In terms of players are going to get more expensive every single season, and if they keep going on with this model of sell to buy, and they don't have enough money to buy certain players, how long do you think that Liverpool's going to last in top four?
I've got the perfect answer for that, haven't I? As long as they're allowed to do it. I'm talking about fans. I'm talking about journalists protecting them. I'm talking about even down to Jurgen Klopp. Like, I think Jurgen Klopp's had enough now. I think even in an interview they did the other day, he said, "Look, we need this. We have to sign this." Uh-huh. He's put them in front of the pedestal now, as Jurgen Klopp, by saying that. He's put them on front and centre stage by saying that. Because now, if we do not do enough this transfer window, no one, and I mean no one, can say Klopp's fault. No one. Because he says right there in that interview, he says, we need this. I have to have these signings. And there's only one way it points them is to FSG. Yeah. And if they don't back in this summer properly, if they don't do more than Lavia, yes, Lavia, Szoboszlai and McAllister, incredible signings, by the way. Incredible signings. I'm excited for each one of them, especially Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai is my guy.
Yeah.
But with Henderson and Fabinho leaving as well, we need a proper backing. And like the guys have been saying, we need a centre-back as well.
Yeah.
And if we don't provide all that, then the only way things change is if we force change. And I'm going to come back on you about that, Arne. Anyway, in a second, I'm just going to come to Brandon first, because I said this before the stream. Actually, I said we need to get a player that can play 6 and 8, and that's why I mentioned Kevin Thuram, because for me, I think is what we're missing. If we include Lavia, Bacetić, McAllister, Szoboszlai, we've got the two attacking sort of players in Szoboszlai and McAllister. Defensive players in like Bacetić and Lavia, and Thiago's like a sprayer of the ball. We're missing that sort of beast in midfield where it can box to box. We're missing a proper box to box. McAllister can do it a little bit, but not like Thuram can. And to me, that's why Thuram's my number one in terms of bringing the next one in. Have you got anyone else in mind, or do you agree with Thuram?
Really, Thuram was like the guy that I even wanted kind of more than Lavia, just because of that kind of dynamism. Also, this is before, obviously, Bob was leaving and Henderson was leaving, so it was like, obviously, needs have changed. But that was a guy I wanted almost more than anybody, just because of his size, his dynamic ability, his ball carrying, everything like that. I'm like, that's something we've been wanting for, well back we almost got Fekir. That's kind of like something we really needed. Like when Oxlade-Chamberlain was the world beater for that half a season before he tore his knee up. Like, just that one guy who can just take the ball from the midfield, push forward, allow the space for the forwards to run in behind, because they have to come respect his shot, which I can't sit there and say I'm an expert on the French league. I'm not sure how much of a long range shot he's got, but we need somebody from there to really carry the ball and also kind of drag defenders out, especially when they're playing a low block against us, because that's been kind of our issue is if we don't break teams down, what do we do? And we don't have anybody from the midfield that kind of consistently can break somebody down themselves.
I think this comment here about Heretic there saying, "Lol, anyone can force FSG to sell." Let's be real. Let's be real about how powerful fans actually are, because fans are in charge of the club essentially, in terms of what really can go on, and if they want ownership out, they can force them out. You talk about the Glazers there. Man United fans are forcing them out. Eventually, they will go. They've been quite tight with it. They want a certain amount of money, but they will be forced out. Kroenkes were forced to start buying players by the Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
We forced John Henry to apologise twice, not once but twice. Ticket prices, furlough, European Super League. The fans are very, very powerful, and I think also the journalists can do a little bit as well. But I think the journalists, the ones that are close to the club, only put out the PR because that's their connection to the club. And if they lose that connection to the club, they're going to lose out on exclusives, lose out on certain money. And if they've got like families to feed, as bad as it's that, but they've got a job to do. However, and I don't like the PR at all. I can't stand the PR. I can't stand the gaslighting. That's what it is most of the time. It's gaslighting. It happened the week with Chris Carrasco thing when they said the ship to Caicedo's sailed according to Liverpool. Has it bollocks sailed? He's still not. He's still at Brighton, by the way. A week and a half later, it's an unsailed talk. We just don't want to pay the money. That's the simple fact of it. Don't gaslight us. That's all I ask. Just tell us the truth. But now can come to you, the nominee. Hypothetical here.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to last season. What I saw last season. So obviously, I do writing as well for LFC transfer room.
Yeah.
And what we saw last season, we bought Nunez, Carvalho, and then Ramsey. And then the reports the day after, I think it was the Ramsey, the last one. The reports after that, several reports came out then saying Liverpool are done for the window. And this was it was a few weeks left of the window, by the way. And we all called for midfield, all saying we're short. Also, we made a last-ditch loan move for Arthur Miller, but it still wasn't part of the plan. If this Lavia deal, say hypothetically goes through this weekend, we get Lavia. Monday, reports start coming out, we're done for the transfer window. What's your reaction?
Sell your season tickets. Don't turn up to the stadium until honestly, because I know it sounds irrational and obviously it's probably not going to happen, but It's just that we as fans, we need to start putting pressure on these owners. Serious pressure on them. What they're doing right now is drowning our club. And they were literally, there was posters going around on Twitter today of Bill Shankly showing all the trophies that he won. And I was just like, that is what Liverpool is. Liverpool are used to winning trophies. Liverpool are used to challenging. We're not used to fighting for fourth. That's not who we are. We should have never been that club, but obviously because of certain mistakes and certain owners that just couldn't keep up, and managers that we had didn't really work out. We went to that position where we had to fight for top 4. We started fighting for 5th. We were trying to fight for top 10, and then eventually we got Klopp. Now we're fighting for the league and then winning Champions League, Premier League, and we're on top now. And then all of a sudden we're going backwards again. It makes no sense at all. So if we do not get one more player or 2 more players, I believe we need 3 more players. If I'm being honest with you, we need 3 more players. We need a defender and 2 more midfielders. But we're not going to get that. We'll be lucky to get 2. And the only reason why we've been getting this Lavia situation sorted is because we sold players. So let's say hypothetically we didn't sell these players and these players were still in the club.
Did we get Lavia?
We'd have got that news. We'd have got that news saying that we're done with the transfer. We're not going to get any more players because we don't have any money. How do we not have any money? Like seriously, like that's a genuine question. I genuinely want to know. How do Liverpool not have any money? Are we that broke? Like, honestly, are we that broke that we don't have no money to spend?
I've tweeted it before, we are the brokest rich club in sports history.
It makes
we are
no
the brokest rich club. We're the skintest rich club in sports history. That and Boston Red Sox, but there's a reason for that as well.
Honestly, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, so I don't want to get my emotions up in terms of this, but I just believe that because when they talk about FSG, my blood starts to boil and I'm just thinking, I just see red. I just think that Liverpool needs to start being more ambitious. The owners need to start being more ambitious in terms of, if you see how Newcastle will be more ambitious, Arsenal will be more ambitious. They're actually backing the manager. These guys used to complain every single season. They're not buying no players. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Now we are starting to sound like Arsenal.
Is it getting like Wenger and Arsenal with Klopp?
Yeah. It's starting to get like that.
We're going to be happy with top 4.
Yeah.
Well, we've got no choice but to be happy with top 4.
Top 5, actually. Top 5 for next season.
Oh, there you go. Then we're going to get top 5 that way.
Yeah, and it's really bad. And I think we're going to realize how bad the team is, or how in trouble we're going to be when Klopp leaves. As soon as that guy leaves, we're going to start to understand, we are actually in trouble. And these owners need to go. Because we're so comfortable right now because we've got a good manager.
I mean, Helior's right there. It says, keep speculating if that makes your day, but I get that completely, Helior, because that was the excuse that why we're not going for 2 Ram anymore. That's what the excuse that came out. Also, we were in talks of 2 Ram, but because we bought Soberslide, then we left 2 Ram alone. But that's an excuse of excuses because they're not even the same kind of player. If you watch Soberslide, you watch 2 Ram, then you're watching two completely different players. And they shouldn't even be on the same list in terms of, if you want to say like a 6 and an 8 or an 8 and a 10, they're 2 completely separate lists for different position in midfield. So that alone tells me that it's PR again, because it's not true. We should not be stopping to go get 2 Ram because we bought Soberslide. Completely 2 different. If anyone's like 2 Ram, it's more on McAllister, and even then he's not really like 2 Ram either. But he's more closer to 2 Ram than Soberslide is. So I'm starting to see. We talk about it all the time. Groundhog Day. I mean, me and Neil write all the time, especially Neil writes every single day for us, and we've been writing for 3 years for us now. So we're seeing the same stories every single year, and it is Groundhog Day. And this is why I asked you then, Harmony, is if we see reports say next week that we're done. Yeah. Then I'm expecting it to happen. I am actually expecting it to happen, as bad as it sounds. He said there, if we didn't get rid of Fabinho and Henderson, would Lavia even be going in?
No.
Would we have already got them reports already out? Yeah. To me personally, I dare FSG stop it then. I dare them. Because there's still time in the window where the rest of the fan base will cotton on. At the start of the fan base, start of the window, fair enough, fans will say, oh, it's too early to complain, too early to moan, too early to this. But because I've seen it all before, that's why we're moaning. I've seen it all before. I've seen these reports before. I'm writing them every single year. They're using the same words, they're using monitoring, using this and that. They're using the boat sailed for Caicedo when he's still there a week and a half later. So you got to read in between the lines sometimes with these PRs, but you still got to read them properly what they are, because don't believe everything that comes from the club. The club will try everything. They will put a negative story out them about them. Mo Shatra said it perfectly on here. All the journalists, when they talk about FSG, it's always good things.
Yeah.
They never ever comment on FSG when it's bad, ever. And there's been more bad things than there have been good things with FSG. Apart from saving us from George Gillette and Tom Hicks, and bringing us Klopp and Michael Edwards and learning for the stadium and stuff. There's been more bad things, like the furlough, the ticket prices, the Kenny Dalglish situation, the European Super League, the all sorts. The branding of Liverpool, trying to rebrand Liverpool and trying to make it a thing where they get money off it. So, but we don't see that from journalists close to Liverpool. We see that journalists from across the world, but not from the close to Liverpool. So when the Liverpool journalists say that we can't get this guy because he don't want to come to us or this, don't believe it.
Yeah.
Don't believe it, because it's very rare players turn Jurgen Klopp down anyway. Amrabat might have done it for Man United, but I'm not too asked about that one because I don't think he's as good as Lavia anyway.
Yeah.
But look how many times players have chosen Liverpool. Van Dijk chose Liverpool over City. Countless players have chosen Liverpool over Man United. Gakpo, Nunez, Fabinho. Don't believe that we can't get these players.
That's
the only reason why we can't get these players is not playing the money. The only reason why I ain't got Lavia right now is because we ain't been playing the money. Let's be honest. We've been in talks with him for over a month. I'm surprised Klopp hasn't got him on as a speed dial, because that. Oh, honestly, Matty, thank you for the super chat. I'm glad we're becoming one of your favorite, FLLC channel. That to me means absolute the world to me, to be honest, because that's all I want to be. Just someone's channel where they can go and listen to whenever they want and zone out. This is your time to listen to the Liverpool news as well as opinions and get your opinions as well. And Matty, thank you for the super chat. Let's have a look what you said. All the other ones are just chilling at FFG. Well, again, regarding like other channels and stuff, I love other channels. Like I'm good mates with people from Redmen. I'm good mates with someone from Cop TV. I'm good mates with Born and Red. I'm very close to Born and Red, and a lot of them, not Born and Red obviously, but a lot of them are close to the club itself. Again, they're looking out for themselves and keeping exclusives open up, because if they lose that, then they're losing 95% of their content.
Yeah.
And again, they've got family to feed and they've got bills to pay. So it's only, but it's up to the fans now to turn on FSG regarding that. This feed bill should have started when we won the UCL in 2019. FSG out. It should have done. This feed bill shouldn't be coming when Henderson and Fabinho are left out the door. They should have been teaching the next generation. Not being the replaced. Lavia shouldn't be a replacement. It should be an understudy. But this is the situation we're in it, Brandon. And what are our expectations? If that's it now, if Lavia is the last one, what are our expectations going into the season? Should we title challenge still? Do you think we can get over the line?
If we only get Lavia, I think we're basically kind of in that 13-14 season, correct? The one where Suarez just was magically keeping us in a title race, though the team wasn't good enough. As somebody like whether it's Mo, whether it's Darwin taking the next step, or Jaco, somebody just taking the team by the scruff of their neck, no matter how bad we are at the back or thin at midfield, just keeping us in a title race. That'd be like the best case scenario, because we won't be challenging for it. We won't have the depth in the midfield to challenge on all fronts, so we won't be playing that well in Europe. I couldn't imagine, unless we start actually prioritizing it. But we'd have to prioritize which is more important, domestic or European, because we just don't have the depth to do it. especially for the midfield. It's just that's the most important part. That's the engine of the whole team. You need that defense, especially that midfield, to do the job it needs to. Or, it's just the expectation would be, fingers crossed we get top 4. And like as somebody said, it's like we just turn into Arsenal from the late 2000s to the mid 2010s of just like, hope you get top 4, continue showing how much money we're making, but not spending on anybody. So just keep telling us, next season we're going to spend all the money you can imagine on these players. And the next season we get somebody from like the Japanese league for $2 million, and that's the signing we got for the summer. It's like, okay. And then he never plays for the club, and we all forget who his name is like 12 years later.
Hello, yes. Let me get this. The butterfly effect. Yeah, David, just worry about your love point for FSG. I did say if we get to 10k subscribers before the season starts, I will write a love point to Mr. John Henry himself. I can't see it happening yet. The season is 3 weeks away, so we need to get those subscribers up, guys. If you can share our stuff and like and subscribe again, our algorithm goes up and we can get that 10k. You will see me writing a love point for Mr. John Henry himself. I'll try and make it as relevant as I can. I found another good thing. So, rebuild next season. Gomez gone, Matip gone, defence rebuild. Exactly that, Wolf. Exactly that. Because if we don't bring a centre back in this time, Dan, we need 3 centre backs by next summer possibly. Yep. Especially like Gomez not being good. Van Dijk's on the way out. I seem to be having the same conversations every stream, but it's the truth, isn't it? It's true. We need a centre back now, don't we, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, we do, regardless if we play like the 3-box-3 or anything else. Like we're going to need one just because the fact that Matip is going to be going out the door. I know someone mentioned Gomez. Again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news because I think some people just really don't like Gomez, which is fine. He had some bad games, but I still think he's a very decent center back. Again, if he's your 3rd, 4th choice center back, I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I think there is a succession plan they need to do in defense as soon as possible. Robinson's 29 going 30. Tsimikas is 27, I believe, 26, 27, maybe 28 actually right now. So there is like a long-term succession play they need to do to figure out in the defense as well. And I think that they're going to have to start somewhere at a center back. And I think that's why Colwell was the one that has been the one most strongly linked, because he plays left side. He can fill in for Van Dijk. He can play in that left center back position in a 3-box-3 midfield. And, regardless of if making any other midfield signings beyond Lavia, I think if you're at a signing of a player beyond Lavia, even though I think they should do it, I think you're just kind of like trying to do horses for courses, like try to make it as stable as possible. They really need to sign a defender, and I think that's probably going to be the next signing they're going to try and make. I know Harvey mentioned this earlier. I think they would have signed Lavia regardless if they sold Henderson and Fabinho. I just think with selling Henderson and Fabinho, it just makes it it just makes us that more anxious about our midfield in general because we just lose the numbers, we lose the experience and everything else. I think Lavia will probably be absolutely fine. We're not going to know until we see Chelsea at opening day, when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. But I think their next goal should be after Lavia is to sign a center back, to sign a defender. I mean, in all honesty, you can make an argument they should sign 3 more players. Like I think Harvey said, a defender, a right back, and a defender. Like you can make an argument they should sign 3 because there is going to be a time where they're going to have to start betting in that next round of defenders. Before Klopp leaves, because Klopp's got 2 more years on his contract. So he has 2024, 25, and then 25, 26, and then at the end of 2026 is when his contract runs out. So he's got really this season and he's got this season, next season, and he has one more after that in order to kind of like do his rebuild and do his kind of final hurrah as well. So we're kind of getting at the point now, and I know we've kind of been like venting our anxieties and getting worked up about obviously the ownership and just where we're at, because we just feel like we're getting left behind by these other teams as well. Regardless of like future, what we're going to do as well, if they sign a defender right now, and let's say it's Colwell, let's just say that they sign Lavia for 45 million and they get Colwell for 55 million, and I think that's a great summer. And I think we're going to have to add another midfielder next year because Thiago's going to leave, so we can at least be up back to 8, and we're probably going to have to evolve one more step, and we're going to have to focus really on the midfield. On the defense, and move kind of beyond the midfielder as well. But as it stands right now, again, it's like we're very close. We're kind of like on a tightrope right now where we're, ultimate success and then coming fifth. There's kind of like that very thin line we're walking right now with these transfers and with the squad we're at right now as well, because we just know there's so much work that needs to be done, because so much work wasn't done, particularly after we won the European Cup, where I think, so I went back and I looked through all the transfers, and I was going through on my iPad here to the side. So every year we pretty much have a marquee signing, and we're trying to fix some problem or bring someone in, apart from 18-19. Because that summer we bought Sepp Vandenberg, we bought Adrian, and we got Harvey Elliott. Those are the 3 big players we got. Now, all squad players, nothing wrong with buying those players, but that was the one summer where we should have been able to kick on and evolve beyond that. And and again, this is the summer after we win the European Cup. And so we're kind of making up for the fact that we didn't sign a player that summer. We only signed 3 in the COVID season. We get Simicast, Thiago, Jota, 21-22, which is last year. We bring in 21-22. We bring in Nunez, Ramsey, and who's the one I'm forgetting? Carvalho. Carvalho's on loan. Ramsey's on loan. Nunez is probably going to be amazing, but he still hasn't kicked on yet. So if you're looking back through all these transfers, you can very much see a situation where they were just one player short here and here, and now that's leaving us, and that's built up to the point now that we have so much work that we have to do, not just this summer, but next summer. So regardless of who we sign this summer, next summer is still good. They're going to have to do more work as well. And I know Hami mentioned this earlier. I think FSG know this, and that's why they've been trying to look for minority ownership. They've been trying to find a seller. They've been trying to bring in outside capital, because Harmony, the question you posed, and I just want to make sure I think this is the most important thing. FSG will know their model won't work when they can stop bringing in revenue. So when the commercial revenue drops, when the TV revenue drops, when the games drop and the positions drop, that's when they realize we can't sustain this anymore, because they just don't generate enough money. They don't put in enough capital in order to keep that machine to go. And I think they already kind of know this to some degree, that they know that they can't do this with the way the FFP has been used, with the way the Premier League is going, and with the money that some teams are splashing around or even asking for. I think they're looking at what Chelsea's done. They're like, this is ridiculous. We're not going to compete with this. Like, we can't compete with someone like Todd Bowley just throwing back 3 scotches and saying, I'll spend 50 million on that guy at Villarreal, and we're going to bring him in, and it doesn't make any sense. And like Chelsea, I actually find Chelsea the most interesting transfer window, because I think they've destroyed and rebuilt two teams and like 2 transfer windows, and it's the most insane thing I've seen in my life. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't think it will work, but it's so fascinating as well. And I think that is where we're kind of at right now, where as Liverpool supporters, fans, you mentioned how it makes you emotional. Harmony, yeah, it makes us emotional, because I want Liverpool to win. I want us to be successful. This is a leisure activity for me. I don't want to go in and I don't want to be writing on my notepad calculations of what players we can bring in on what wages. I don't get paid to do this. They don't I wish FSG paid me to do this. I would probably make a decent money out of it. But I think I sense all that anxiety, and they probably are aware of this. And I think Klopp is why he has his finger on the button so much, when he's saying, I need a defender. I'm going to get Lavia, and we're going to have to rebuild this next season. The good news is, though, and I think this is the good shining light, is that we are getting money for some players that I think were on the edge of leaving. We didn't get money for Wijnaldum. We did get money for Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain. Keita is someone who we probably could have gotten 30 million for. Oxlade-Chamberlain maybe 10, 15 million. But, I think right now that, I'm anxious because I want this to happen, because I know what the future looks like if we don't get these players. But I'm also relaxed by the sense of we got Jurgen, we got these players in, and they know. I think they're very aware of this, but obviously, all the supporters in Liverpool will probably make them very aware of this. If things start going south very quickly, what I wouldn't say support FSG has, but what apathy people have towards FSG can turn into hostility.
I think it is support sometimes, mate. I think it is support sometimes.
You're saying support, Deb? I've always read it as apathy more than support, but because I don't think anybody's going to go to war for John Henry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to war for John Henry. This man's a billionaire. I don't care. This man's set for life. He's fine. I'm not going to go for this man, because all I want is what's best best for our club. You know, I don't want to say my club, but it's our club. You know, we pay the money, we pay the subscriptions, we pay the membership fees as well. You know, we pay the TV subscriptions to watch these guys play. You know, we want what's best for our club at the end of the day. And I think, you know, like I said, we're so close. We're so close to being, you know, next year being the most legendary thing of all time, like we were in 21-22. We're so close. And if we just get that little bit extra, we're not at, like I found it so funny because we're not asking to sign Mbappe for 500 million. You know, if they're just a little bit extra, it would go a long way. And I think we would not only win the Premier League next year, I think we would blow it away because I don't rate Arsenal. Like, I know they bought Rice. I know they have Havertz. I know these players. They have Timber, who's I think is a very good player. I don't rate anybody else but City. City is the only team that worries me because it's Pep Guardiola. Like, Pep Guardiola could have 13 players, nobody else, and I would still worry about them. You know, he could have 13 like 5'8" like Spanish players just playing midfield and goalkeeper, and I would still worry about playing Pep because it's Pep Guardiola. Like, no other team worries me but City. And I think if we just get this right, we'll be great.
100%.
You and Vaz of Flower said the same thing, basically. That's all we're asking for. It's all we're asking for. 2 more midfielders and a centre-back, and we're good to go this season. I still think that we can, in the Liverpool mind that I'm in, I still think we can win the league, even if we don't buy anyone else. But then if I'm using my head over my my heart, then you've got to say a title charge is hard to rely on, like a Lavia and a Bacchetić in centre defence midfield, because that is such an important. It's the fact that it's that position for me. If you're like a right back going out, say like, I'm not saying Trent, but say like if you had a different, say like Hendo or Fabinho was a right back and we're missing a right back, it's not as bad. But CDM is that one of them positions that if you don't get it right, it can fuck your whole team up.
Yep.
Did it the other day. Look at Casemiro's difference to Manchester United. Manchester United couldn't defend for crap. Last year they got Golden Glove, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was them.
So they got Golden Glove. So that's how much a CDM changes everything, especially in this Liverpool system where Trent needs to invert into that role, and someone needs to cover him, and someone needs to cover that ground all there and control that area. And Lavia might be able to do it a little bit, but I don't think he can do it all the way through the season. He's only 19 years old. He's only a young lad. And again, Bacchetić the same. So going into the season in, I think it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks' time it starts, actually.
Yeah.
We need Lavia through the door. We're all asking for at least 2 more centre midfielders and a centre back. But someone said up there, like Jurgen Klopp says, there's going to be players brought in. But Jurgen Klopp said the midfielders were good last season.
I still can't believe he said that. I think he was just saying that because of the fact that he was going to get no one. Honestly,
I actually think he believed that, because like a lot of players didn't get injured and then they all got injured at the same time. Like,
honestly, you look at that midfield. When he said that, I was like, this guy, he's bullshit. I know for a fact he won a midfield, but these owners are saying to him, we don't have no money.
It's been one of thrown under the bus. I think this year is throwing them under the bus. So they don't want to be in that situation again.
Yeah.
But what got me as well is that I think it was Neil Atkinson from Anfield, right? Is the fact that he didn't question it. He just laughed along with it. I thought, did he actually think we had good enough midfield as well? Yeah. And I say these journalists that are close to the club, James Pearce, he did an article last year saying I think at the pre-season tour, and he said they're all good to go. They look good. They look ready to go again. They don't need any more players. And someone commented on it and saying basically we need more midfielders, and he basically laughed at them. That's what gets me. It's the snobbiness of it, and saying just because you're in a position of like an exclusivity with the club, you think that you're right. Have you ever kicked a ball? Because anyone that kicked a ball would have seen that problem last season. I brought it up plenty of times throughout last season. Even the Champions League final, I said we need to keep our foot on FSG, and look what happened. And when people say they didn't see that downfall coming, that's because you was asleep. You was either asleep or deluded.
Oh gosh!
It's as simple as that. So, and I don't want that to happen again. And this is why we can't let it happen again. If we bring Lavia in and that's it, that's not good enough.
No.
Let's be honest with ourselves here. That is not good enough. And if we want to fight the City for the title, even the Arsenal, I know Dan said that Arsenal don't take them seriously, but they could be fighting for the title again. Because the thing about Arsenal last season is they played like Liverpool did back in, the way they controlled the game, the way they dominated the matches. They weren't just winning games; they were dominating matches the way we did until obviously the head went.
Yeah.
So we could be fighting the title between them. Even Man United could be in a title race. You don't really know until the season starts. I don't think there will be, but I think it is between three of us, including Arsenal and City. But to go against them, we need to get the transfers right.
100%.
And that comes on the next. I'd say the next 3 weeks. I don't even look at the September the 1st being the deadline. The deadline for me is before the season starts.
Before the season starts, yep. 100%.
We need to get those players in before the season starts and get them playing and training at least.
Yeah.
To get used to the new team and get. It's like say if about someone from abroad, like a Nunez, for example, he didn't even know the language. So you see how long it's taken him to gel in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if we can't get this right, then I think again I'm going to say the same as I did last season. We need to keep our foot right on FSG's head. So if we don't keep our foot on FSG head and we let them get away with this again, then what are you expecting for the season? Don't cry in the season that it's all gone tits up, because that's what we're planning for. We need to get Lavia in ASAP, like Arnie said. Get some playing time over in Singapore, whether it's against Bayern Munich or Leicester. Then we need to move on and get another midfielder at least one other midfielder. Some of us even think two, and definitely a centre back. At least this is at the very least one midfielder and one centre back.
Yeah.
After Lavia. Like I said, if that's it. Then it's time to start putting pressure on FSG to get out. I think we need to do it anyway. I want FSG out now. They made the bed 2 years ago for me, 2-3 years ago. So, but if that were to happen, I think the fan base need to turn fully.
Actually, you know what? This is a funny thing for me to say, but I'm gonna say this quickly. I blame Klopp. No, I blame Klopp because he became successful. As soon as he became successful, these owners looked at it and said, "Oh, okay, we don't have to spend that much money. Look how much money we gave this guy, and he did this. Okay, cool, we're fine now." That's why I blame Klopp.
Not forgetting the success. I'm glad he did this. We were drained for 30 years for a title. That's the first time I've seen the title been alive. So it was nice, but we've had a taste of it. We need the whole drink now.
Yeah.
What we've had is gone to a shopping centre and given one of them bites of things. Exactly. When they give out free things, and it's like a little bite. Here, have a piece of this, and we go in the shop itself. It's like 60 quid. We thought I can't afford that. We'll go back around again with a disguise on to see if we can taste it again. That's all we've had. We've had a taste of things. We need more of it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. Thanks everyone joining in the stream. Make sure you do like and subscribe. Make sure you turn your notification bells on, because we are live, like I said, every single night. Podcasts out on Fridays. 10-minute videos out as much as we can as well about expert analysis and things like that. I did one on the 5 players to look at for the pre-season tour at the moment the other day. So yeah, keep your notification bells on. We'll get as best and most content out as we can. And as our good Matty said, who did a super chat.
Well, I think it might be gone. Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, I think it's probably into this, probably gone. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think he's probably in control of it, so we have to wait for him to come back, because
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Why there? Well, so who Harmony? Who do you want for center back? I'm actually curious about this, and I think I've seen a lot of checks.
Ignacio. Yeah, I think he'll be a good centre back. I don't think we'll be getting Colwell unless he forced to move out Chelsea. We're not getting him, so Ignacio probably the best option for me.
Well, I think I said this back when we said Suboslai, I think Colwell is their long-term target, and I think they're trying to get him now, but they'll probably get him next year. So we'll see kind of what happens, with that as well. What do you think, Brandon?
Same. I would love Colwell, but I think Ignacio would be more realistic, just because I don't think Chelsea wants to let Colwell go, to us at least. So I think Ignacio would be the option.
Yeah, I think so too. What other mids do you guys think of? I know he was looking at Thuram. I mentioned Palhinha earlier. I mean, obviously Florentino Luis is the perfect one.
Perfect, yeah.
If you look at his radar, he is absolutely amazing. He's essentially on par with what Fabinho was at his peak for the most part. But I think that I mean, 103 release clause is just like a lot to do with Benfica, unless we have good relations with them as well. But I just think that's a lot to deal with. Brandon, who do you think?
Luis Wood, great shout there, I guess. I don't know. I've only been like kind of stuck on Thuram like the entire time, like this whole summer, just because like the dynamism and just like his size as well. Because I've always felt like we haven't been that big in the midfield for years. Like
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest midfield we ever had was, I think it was when we beat Tottenham. It's like because we had Matip, Van Dijk, we had Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Gini. And that was their biggest midfield in terms of height, because Fabinho's 6'2", Henderson's like 6'1", and Matip 6'4", Van Dijk 6'4" as well. So that was the biggest we ever were when we won that game. Someone mentioned Bella Kotchep. Has anybody here seen Bella Kotchep at Southampton? I've watched him a bit, but
no, I haven't personally seen him. But I think if he can help us out and help that midfield, then hey, welcome along, and I'll welcome you open arms, honestly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hey mate,
you okay there?
I do apologize, guys. Yeah, my phone did die. So I'm now on the floor. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming on, and thanks for carrying on as well, guys. Thanks everyone for coming on, and speak to you all later.
Take care, guys.
See you, man. Take it easy.